And my guest is Sarah Farrant from Earlam Christopher Opticians. Sarah, just tell us a bit about yourself before we go into the main reason why you're here.
So I'm an independent optometrist based in Taunton, and I am chair of the Somerset Local Optical Committee. So we work really hard on helping the members of the public in Somerset to get the best eye care services they can. And also I sit on something called the College of Optometrists, whereby nationally we try and embrace sort of member services for getting members of the public better eye care services.
You're very, very proactive, aren't you, clearly?
Absolutely.
You love eyes, don't you?
I do. Unfortunately, I love eyes, yes. I'm very passionate.
What is it about what is it that makes somebody want to really study the eye as a youngster? Because clearly it's one of those jobs that you just don't decide at the last minute because of the level of training involved in something like it.
Absolutely. Well, I think my passion came from the fact that both of my parents were short-sighted, and seeing them struggle with contact lenses and struggle with their glasses, it really just made me think, gosh, this is something that really needs to be dealt with properly, and just growing up with that and just having a passion for wanting to do something that help the public and help people to see better. Sight's so precious.
I would imagine going into optometry is probably a very good thing these days, because the number of kids that are looking at iPads and computer screens from a very, very early age, and it is clearly in 20 years' time going to have a massive effect on people's sight, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you starting to see that now?
Yeah, I mean, what we tend to find these days is that, as you identify, more and more children spend hours staring at screens and phones and iPads and things. And the general advice, the national advice is something called the 20-20 rule, which basically means after 20 minutes of screen use, be that phones or computers, you should have a break and you should look across a room, 20 feet across a room, and have a 20-second break, and do a few blinks and just break it all up a bit. And it helps to stop that sort of fixation and staring at the screen, that intensive use. I'm
taking note here. I have a 6.5-year-old son who will need to be listening to this interview at some point. Right, now the reason you're here is because, pick up my notes here, and I think this is really quite important. This is the reason why I wanted you to come in, because you're discovering treatments now for short-sightedness. Now, let's just explain here. Short-sightedness, once it's been diagnosed, there's no going back. It is going to progressively get worse.
Yes.
So over the years, people will just be prescribed stronger glasses.
Yeah, so short sight is by definition where you can't see far away and you can see close up.
Yeah.
Okay, and what tends to happen is that you tend to become short-sighted from about age 6 to 8 upwards. Okay, so some children develop it later, sort of in their teens and early 20s, but that's the usual phase in life when you develop it. And what happens is that children suddenly can't see the board, they can't read the writing, they get closer to the telly because they can't see the words, that sort of thing. And what happens once you see a child that is becoming short-sighted, usually it is a bit of a slippery slope, and they do eventually plateau and it does stop getting worse and worse, but normally they're on a bit of a change and a slippery slope for a little while before they eventually stop again.
So the treatments are basically going to slow things down as opposed to it's sort of just deteriorating a lot very quickly. Yes,
so the idea is that historically we've always been able to give people who are becoming short-sighted glasses or possibly contact lenses, but they've never actually been able to treat that progression. So we will prescribe glasses and lo and behold, in 6 months or a year's time, we'd see that person again and they'd maybe be a bit worse and we'd make their glasses stronger. Okay, that's always how it's been and what we've had to do. More recently, because of the research and the new options available, if we see a child who is becoming short-sighted, we're able to now help to stop that short sight from progressing, from developing. We can't reverse it and we can't completely rule out the fact it may change, but we can help to reduce the rate at which it progresses.
And how do you do that?
So what we do, there's a couple of options available these days, and they both revolve around the idea of contact lenses. And there are specific types of contact lenses that are very specialist that can help to stop the triggers for the eyeball getting bigger. The bigger an eyeball, the more short-sighted. That's what short sight is, a big eyeball. Okay, so if we can help to reduce the rate at which that eyeball grows and gets bigger, we can help to reduce the subsequent rate of the myopia, the short sight. And so what the aim is to stop the eyeball from wanting to grow bigger. And that's what the contact lenses are able
How
to
does that work
encourage.
then?
So what happens is, it's all very scientific,
Yes,
you have clear vision in the centre of the contact lens, and then around the edge at the periphery of the contact lens, it has a relative area of blur, okay? And that blurry bit of the lens basically helps to discourage the eyeball from growing.
Ah, of course, because it's not trying to focus anything, isn't
Exactly,
it?
that's right, yeah. So
it's actually quite simple, really, isn't
it's
it?
a simple concept, and often the
But
best...
it's taken years to discover.
Exactly, yeah. The best kind of inventions are often based on
So
simple
it's
ideas.
not making the eyeball work as hard. So for that reason, I'm a trainee optometrist, clearly.
A little more complicated, but ultimately, yes. It's stopping the drivers that encourage eyeball growth, yeah.
So there you go, and now you know. A little bit of eye science for you this morning. Thank you very much for coming in to share that with us. I think it was really quite interesting, actually.